A cowboy and his horse. So often the relationship between these two is misinterpreted. You see, the cowboy believes he's in control, but in all actuality, it's the bronco that's taking him for a ride. Without notice, all of a sudden that unpredictable beast below can run, buck, and bull and strike fear in the heart of the one who thought they were in control. When Oklahoma State rolls into town tonight, that will be one of many lessons the Boise State Broncos plan to teach them. The Cowboys can claim that the blue is very underwhelming, but you might want to consider what has happened to 123 of the last 133 opponents to play at this palace. This sacred stadium provides the Broncos with their heartbeat. This is the core of their culture, 35 years of greatness. On this surface, they are unforgiving, relentless, unstoppable. They present you with uncontrolled chaos, and if you think you're seeing a lot of blue now, just wait until after the game, when your feelings better identify with the color of this turf. Tonight, these waters will be far from still, and the Cowboys can only hope they don't sink to the depths of this sea that has claimed oh so many Power 5 programs. Welcome to the Blue, Oklahoma State. I'm sure your experience will be unforgettable. The Bronco Roundup Game Day Show starts now.
Now, a special presentation from the KTVB Newsroom. Bronco Roundup Game Day starts now.
Well, I hope you are ready for one of the more unique showdowns in the history of the iconic blue turf. For the first time ever, the Boise State football team welcomes a team from the Big 12 to the blue during the regular season. We have been waiting years to watch this matchup, and now we are down to just 1 single hour until kickoff. The guys are on the field warming up. You will only get this view right here on the official station for Bronco Nation. Welcome into the Bronco Roundup Game Day Show. I'm Jay Tuss alongside Will Hall. This one, Will, an easy one to get excited about.
JT, you and I have been waiting for this game for a long, long time. You know, I was thinking about it earlier today. Most anticipated non-conference game on the blue since when for you?
Oh, man. It was cool to see Virginia come here, but that didn't nearly pack the punch that this matchup has. Anytime you get a a Power 5 team to come here on the blue, it's big. I'll say Washington with Chris Peterson. That one probably exceeds this one, though, just because, A, it was a season opener, and B, it was Chris Peterson coming back to coach against the team that he led to impeccable heights.
Remember that game like it was yesterday. Going to be fired up to welcome another well-known coach here to the blue in Mike Gundy in his mini mullet tonight.
Yeah, and a mini mullet because he got a little bit of a haircut since the last time these two teams met. But I will say this. This is a return game in this series. This was originally scheduled as a home and home, and now Oklahoma State finally has to travel to play at Boise State. But once upon a time, the Broncos had to go there, and it was a tough game for Boise State.
Tough sledding for the Broncos in Stillwater. We have highlights of that day back from September 2018. The Broncos got off to a good start in this one, scoring first on this incredible touchdown catch from Brett Rippin to John Hightower. Boise State got the scoring started. However, from there, Oklahoma State would rattle off 17 straight to take a 17-7 lead into halftime. Justice Hill finishing with 123 rushing yards and a score. Oklahoma State would open things up in the second half behind a big day from quarterback Taylor Cornelius. Cowboys defense sacked Brett Rippon 7 times in this one, en route to beating Boise State 44-21. But tonight, at home on the blue, Boise State players and coaches excited to defend the blue.
It's an unbelievable opportunity, for Bronco Nation in the Valley, and to be able to, to be able to get games like this to come into our stadium, and the type of opponent, the history, the tradition. We've got a great challenge in front of us. We know that our fan base, these are the type of games that excite them. So to be able to have one here on our, in Boise is an unbelievable opportunity.
It's a reason why a lot of us came here, was to play big games like this out on the blue. And I'm super excited to do it in front of fans. And I think it's going to be a great atmosphere.
This is a huge opportunity for us. We look at it as just food on the plate. We're going to eat up. We're going to go out there and we're going to do our thing. We're going to show that we can play the best in the country.
Yeah, it's everything, especially when we play at home. We take a lot of pride in defending the blue, and when people come here, not losing on the blue and really taking it to them and defending our home turf, because it's someplace that's so special, not only to us, but a lot of the guys that came through this program.
We know Bronco Nation fired up for this matchup, and as you could hear right there, Boise State players and coaches equally fired up for this one.
The guys getting ready to go on the blue. You see some of the offensive linemen warming up. Jacob Golden in the foreground. Big number 70, John Ojukwu, right behind him. We'll get you an update on the offensive line here in just a little bit. In the meantime, coming up today on the Bronco Roundup Game Day Show, could this Boise State-Oklahoma State be a conference showdown one day? Will and I are going to discuss that in just a couple of minutes. Then in about 25 minutes or so, hateful messages for Hank Bachmeier? What's that about? Yeah, back off, keyboard warriors. Earlier this week, Hank addressed that he received some hurtful messages on social media after his interception down at UCF. I remind you, he did throw for 340 yards last week. And how about this? Boise State, they have one of the greatest traditions in the Mountain West in the Dan Paul Hammer. For the first time ever, it is not a store-bought piece of hardware. In about 40 minutes, see how senior long snapper Daniel Contrell and his father, Mark, forged the newest version of the Dan Paul Hammer. It's pretty remarkable. But getting back to the matchup on the blue, Boise State going all blue, and so are the fans here at Albertson Stadium this evening.
Blue out and courage for Bronco Nation. You and I are just so fired up for this matchup. Been waiting for this one for a long, long time. Really excited to see how Oklahoma State comes out. 2-0 entering tonight's game, but those 2 wins over Tulsa and Missouri State left a lot to be said for, I think, for Oklahoma State fans.
You know how much we love our followers on social media. One of them put it best, I think, earlier this week. He said he doesn't know whether to overrate Oklahoma State or if he's underrating Oklahoma State at this moment. Really don't know what you're going to get. Will they continue to struggle, or will they wake up today? I will say this, and you said this earlier this week, Mike Gundy has to love the spot that he's in with his team. Traveling on the road against a group of 5 opponent, and they're the underdog, they will not have a problem getting their team motivated tonight.
Certainly won't. Mike Gundy in his 17th season as head coach at Oklahoma State. He's 38-4 against teams from the non-Power 5 in those 17 years. A lot of success going up against teams like Boise State.
As Will said, when it comes to both of these programs, they've played okay so far this season, far from reaching their ceilings that they potentially could. Either way, Mike Gundy earlier this week acknowledged that he does see similarities between these two teams and one big, big difference.
Their defense looks just like our defense. Multiple coverages, blitz packages, zone blitz. They'll play man. They'll run to some high 2. They'll play 3 cloud. They look almost identical to us on defense. And then offensively, Boise has had a history of using 11 and 12 personnel, some bunch sets, do a lot of shifting, do a lot of motion. They're very similar to what they've done for years. The quarterback's a good player. They have wideouts that make plays. They're a well-coached football team. They've done it for a long time. This is a really good football team. You know, this team should be ranked. They're a top 25 team, in my opinion.
Any concerns about the turf?
No. Not for me. You know, I felt like Gene Hackman in Hoosiers. You know, I felt like taking a tape measure and making sure they know it's 52 and a half wide and 120 long.
What is it? 15 feet. 15 feet.
They have a unique situation there, which I think is pretty cool what they did.
How far? 10 feet. 10 feet.
They kind of live in their own world out there, and they have their own way of thinking.
I think you'll find it's exact same measurements as our gym back in Hickory.
And they've been good at it, and that was a neat addition for them, in my opinion. I mean, I've never been there. I don't know a lot of people from there, but just an outsider looking in, it's pretty cool what they did.
It is big.
But our preparation and focus and getting ready to play and competing out there should overcome the color of the turf.
I mean, should it though, Coach Gundy? It's a nice thought, but I mean, here's a rather stern observation or fact. Nobody is tougher to beat on their own turf than Boise State. Since 2000, the Broncos have a .925 winning percentage at home, easily the best in all of college football. And I also want to point out this next little note. No other Group of 5 program is even in the top 15 if you just continue to extend this list on down. And look at some of these schools behind Boise State. Oklahoma, Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Clemson. I mean, the who's who of college football.
It was so good last week in Boise State's home opener against UTEP to hear the natural roar of the crowd noise. I tell you, you and I, we missed it so much, and so many others missed that jubilation on the blue, the loudness of Bronco Nation out in full force. It was good to hear it, excited to hear it again tonight.
The Broncos are out in full force, or excuse me, their Bronco Nation's out in full force. As you can see, fans filtering into the stands, getting ready for this matchup. As of last week, we heard that this one was going to be a near capacity crowd. 95% of the tickets had been sold. No real update as we've got closer to kickoff. We'll see how this one goes. One thing I wanted to point out, Will, though, when it came to that winning percentage at home, a lot of people will point to that and say, they're a Group of 5 program. Yep. My question, though, if it's so easy, why aren't there other Group of 5 teams on that list?
That at home? Great point. Totally get you there. And I think another thing is, man, you feel it here. There's something different. You've been at some of the biggest venues in all of America. Back at my old job covering Big 10 and Big 12 venues. The noise, the excitement, the atmosphere on the blue is truly unique, truly special. That's why Boise State has so much success at home on the blue.
LeBron James once said this about the Garden in New York, that the court feels like it's alive. Yeah. You step onto this turf and it feels like it's alive. Yesterday, Oklahoma State players came by here early. They were taking pictures on the blue. This place is just different. And for that reason, one has to wonder, how big can it grow? Mm-hmm. Can it get out of the Mountain West?
Yes.
In all honesty. Realignment has surged to the top of the college football discussion once again. Yep. And Boise State is one of those hot topic teams that always seems to be in the discussion. And a big reason why is this turf and that football program.
Yep, exactly why. Now, so catching you up to date on some realignment things within the Big 12 Conference. Oklahoma and Texas are out the door in a couple of years. They're going to head to the SEC Conference. Recently, the Big 12 Conference accepted 4 new schools that they will add to the Big 12 Conference down the road. They are BYU, UCF, Houston, and what's the other one? Cincinnati. Those 4 initially, early on. There's been chatter about potentially those 4 not being the only schools that the Big 12 would add.
If they potentially add 2 more, and that's definitely not unrealistic, Boise State and Memphis appear to be in the discussion, or at least on the short list. We'll see who else emerges. Another thing to discuss is earlier this week, the American Athletic Conference suggested that they're looking to expand. As you just mentioned, they lost 4 teams. They're 4 premier teams, might I add. And so we'll see what happens there, but potentially Boise State, San Diego State, Air Force, Colorado State, all may be in the mix there on the short list for the American Athletic Conference's wish list. As we move along here, you're looking live at the Blue, and Boise State head coach Andy Avalos understands the perennial success here at Boise State, maybe better than anybody. This is one of the cool stats that we have for you.
Bronco Roundup Game Day Fast Stats, sponsored by TDS All Fiber Internet.
Avalos has been a part of this program for 115 of its last 214 victories, dating back to the 2001 season. He witnessed 71 Bronco wins as an assistant coach, 44 as a player, and now 1 as a head coach. After the game last week, we noticed Director of Athletics Jeremiah Dickey walking around the Blue with a football in his hand. Moments later, that football became one of the most prized possessions that Avalos has ever acquired.
Jeremiah has been instrumental. Obviously, we've for the last 9 months have been working diligently together, and he came in there at the end and handed me a game ball. That really the whole team helped earn, all the coaches, and I handed it right to my wife and asked her to put it in our office at home because that won't go on the shelf forever. It's pretty special. It's an unbelievable privilege to be in the position that we are, and we take great pride in it.
Can you tell us what the locker room was like at all after Avalos picked up his first win and you heard that Jeremiah Dickey presented him with a nice souvenir?
It was just water flying everywhere, everybody just hyped. And, that's the part when Coach Plow talks about find joy. Just do your job, and at the end, it'll be in our favor. That's what he's talking about right there, those moments right there. And it was nuts, and it's something that I always remember. And that's Coach Knapp's first win as the head coach, and he has many, 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 many more to come.
I love Coach Avalos. He's one of the best coaches I've ever had. So, I just want to do everything in my power to get him as many wins as possible. And this isn't the only one. He's going to have many, many more. So I'm just really excited for him. He's a great coach. He's a great person. And I just love playing for him.
He's a real dude and a real genuine dude. And we all, want to play for him, play at an elite level for him. And he's somebody that definitely models and shows the way of how to get things done.
Well, as we get a little closer to kickoff between Boise State and Oklahoma State, it is worth noting that for the second straight week, Boise State will be without one of their senior leaders on defense for the first half.
Yeah, that's going to be Riley Wimpy, the leader of the Broncos defense in the middle. The linebacker has tons of experience. He's going to be out for the first half because of an incident last game.
Yeah, just showing you some members of Bronco Nation really quick, but it was for this targeting call. Kind of focus on the center of your screen. It's hard to see. The officials would review the play. They upheld the ruling on the field. Riley has started the last 23 straight games for Boise State. That is the longest active streak on the roster, but it will inevitably come to an end as, again, he has to sit out the first half of tonight's ball game. Now this, again, is actually the second week that it's happened in a row because senior nickel Kekala Kaniho was ejected for targeting in the second half of the season opener against UCF and had to miss the first half of last week's game against UTEP. Rodney Robinson, a freshman, filled in, and he did just fine. He recorded 5 tackles, tied for third most on the team. All game, Kekala offered the kid advice on how to play the position. Now he's sharing his knowledge with Riley on how to sit on the sidelines.
Right when it happened during the game, I came to the sideline and let him know that his influence and leadership, doesn't change just because he's not on the field. And the first thing he asked me was, what did you do this first half? So what I told him was, just watch every single play like you're the guy in. Watch the guys that are playing on the field as if, you were on the field with them. So that way when they come to the sideline or have questions, or you see something that maybe they don't, you have the ability to correct them, just as a coach would. And I think a lot of times us as players, see things that a lot of times our coaches don't, so that's the great part of the position that we have. We see things from the players' eyes and have the voice to be able to talk to, the other guys on the team who are filling in.
It's interesting targeting, and both of those calls, honestly, they weren't questionable because they did fit the rule. And so we might not like it, but it is what it is. And ironically, Kekala was kind of the result of Riley getting the targeting call because they kind of high-load the runner.
Yeah.
An accidental hit, it seems, but it comes with a stiff penalty.
It does, with a stiff penalty. So they'll be without Riley for the first half tonight against Oklahoma State. Provides a huge opportunity for the guys behind Riley who will make starts. That's Brandon Hawkins. He's going to make his first career start tonight against Oklahoma State. You can bet that Riley and Brandon will be meeting 24/7 on the sideline in the first half as Riley helps out Brandon, help contain this Oklahoma State offense.
And like it or not, Boise State knows they have to get this corrected. They can't have guys continually miss games because of targeting rules. I tell you, I don't know how you don't love what we're showing you right now. We are live on the blue, quite literally. The guys getting warmed up, ready to go. Andrew Van Buren scored a couple of touchdowns last week, getting geared up, ready for tonight's game against Oklahoma State. He has been a red zone monster so far for the team this season. 3 rushing touchdowns, and there's C.T. Thomas. Only a couple of catches so far, but loving the camera.
Loving the camera, as he always does. Getting back to tonight's matchup between Boise State's defense going up against Oklahoma State's offense. Well, the Cowboys have started slow offensively this season. Mike Gundy has always been known for having high-scoring offensive attacks in his 17 years in Stillwater. Since 2010, the Cowboys have averaged 39 points and 488 yards of total offense per game. Well, they only have 21 and 28 points respectively in their first 2 games of the season. Boise State coaches well aware of the offensive firepower the Pokes possess.
Very excited for the challenge. You know, I think Coach Gundy and the offensive staff do a phenomenal job. They've been doing a great job on offense for a long time. They do a good job putting you in conflict with stopping the run and then having the different pass options on the outside.
This is an outside, an amazing touchdown run for Jalen Warren. That's illegal.
You know, they do a great job game planning what is going to stress a defense, and they're going to be very specific to that defense and how they're going to attack him. So tons of respect for their offense, tons of respect for the athletes they have.
Sanders to put it in the air again.
Very well-coached team. They know their scheme very well. You can see that. They operate within their scheme extremely well. They are very talented, and at any given point can exploit you as far as those explosive plays. And so I would describe them as a very opportunistic offense, where if you give them an opportunity to hit a big play on you, they will take advantage of that.
Now the straw that stirs the drink for the Cowboys offensive attack is junior quarterback Spencer Sanders. This is his 3rd season as a starter piloting Mike Gundy and Casey Dunn's offensive attack. JT, I know you're numbers and stats guys. You'll like this. He has very similar passing numbers in his first 2 seasons in Stillwater. Check it out. 2019 and 2020, he finished identical, 155 for 247. Completing 63% of his passes, just a hair over 2,000 yards each season. 16 touchdowns his first season as a starter, 14 touchdowns in his second season as a starter. Boise State knows Sanders is a threat to beat you every play with his legs or his arm.
Yeah, he's a really mobile guy. You know, if he's not going to beat you with his arm, he can beat you with his legs. So another quarterback, you know, much like Dylan Gabriel, that we need to be able to defend both his arm and his leg. And he does a great job of both.
Into the open field, Spencer Sanders, 1st and goal.
Well, number one, a guy that's played a lot of football, an experienced player that can do it. He can extend plays with his legs. He can be a factor in the run game, and he's obviously been in that system long enough within the pass game that they're able to create explosive plays. So you got a quarterback that has a ton of experience and is, you know, being coached by really good coaches. So we're going to have a tremendous challenge on our hands.
He's wide open. He's got a touchdown, and Oklahoma State has the lead again.
You go back to last week, Oklahoma State picking up the win at home. That was Sanders' first start this season. He missed week 1 due to COVID protocols being out for that one. Felt like last week when you watched them, they were still trying to find their rhythm offensively. see if last week's performance helps them tonight get out to a faster start.
Hey, let's show you a quarterback the Bronco Nation has no problem getting behind. Hank Bachmeier down on the field warming up, lining up behind Dante Harrington once again. We'll have more with the offensive lineman, or on the offensive lineman, I should say, coming up in just a bit. But last week, Hank threw for 340 yards on 24 pass attempts, the most yards passing by a Bronco quarterback on 25 attempts or less since 2003, Ryan Dinwiddie. It's been a while since a quarterback was as efficient as Hank was last week here on the Blue. We'll see if he can duplicate that performance again tonight against Oklahoma State. We're getting you set for kickoff between the Cowboys and the Broncos. We're back live on the Blue after this. Just trying to get you hyped for game day. We are within a half hour of kickoff. Some breaking news, though, here on the Bronco Roundup Game Day Show. Steph Cobbs is out tonight. He suffered an injury in last week's game. Also, Kekani Okola Gonzalez, the center that is tied with Dante Harrington atop the depth chart at center, also out this evening.
Two big losses for Boise State's offense tonight. We kind of thought Kekani might be out since we haven't seen him much this season. Stephon Cobbs, obviously Bronco Nation knows the impact he made last week against UTEP. Had the punt return for touchdown as well as a long touchdown catch from Hank Bachmeier. That leaves some other wide receivers an opportunity to step out, like guys like C.T. Thomas and Octavius Evans.
Yeah, C.T. has been quiet so far this season. Only one catch in each of the games so far. Had an opportunity to haul in a touchdown last week, couldn't quite do it. Talking about this offense, though, Tim Plow and these guys have their work cut out for them with the dynamic pressures that Oklahoma State likes to bring.
Certainly does. We'll see if Plow and company can hang half 100 for the second week in a row tonight. Oklahoma State's defense, of course, will be one of the top units they face all season long. The Cowboys currently with 7 sacks this season. That total 6th best in the entire country, thanks in large part to a confusing front that resembles Star Wars?
A lot of things, Will. I mean, I think they're very, very unique in how they defend.
On 3rd and 6, pressure coming, and Brand is hit and sacked.
They put a lot of pressure on the quarterback because they're just, you know, it's kind of like Star Wars out there. You can't really identify what the front is. There's just people moving all over the place, a lot of confusion. So we got our hands full this week.
And they do some things schematically that are challenging. It does at times look like there's a lot of things going on, and that's, I think, a credit to them, how hard they play and how well they perform their scheme.
What a pass is intercepted.
They're very ferocious on defense. I think that their shell in the back end is very interesting. They create a lot of confusion on the quarterback. They run fit really well. The safety's coming down. They play with a 3 safety set. So
sacked back at the 19-yard line by Trace Ford.
Now the leader of that confusion, Cowboys standout linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez. You'll likely hear number 20's name called a ton tonight. Rodriguez averaging 14 tackles per game so far this season. That is tops in the entire country.
I think he's very experienced, like I mentioned earlier. You know, a lot of linebackers will pass rush and they'll kind of try to take you head on, but he creates edges and he tries to take a shoulder on, and that's hard as a running back to block when he's picking one side. He's all over. Obviously, in his film, it shows he's all over the field. You know, the plays way down the field he's pursuing. I feel like he's just that player that's always breathing down your neck, and that's like I said, that's a huge challenge for this position group, and we're excited to take it on. But he's a hell of a player, and I'm excited to battle out with him.
Rodriguez in for a touchdown. A pick 6 for Malcolm.
Oh, the Iowa State alum in me, it pains me to show that highlight, but it does showcase the potential big plays made by linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez. He's a guy, number 20, Boise State's offensive line will want to know where he's at all times tonight.
Hey, speaking about the offensive line, some good news right there up front. Jake Stett suited up and ready to go. We are bringing that to you live right now. He missed last week's game, only played 27 snaps against UCF. That is some really good news as this offensive line tries to get on track, tries to start clicking again.
Shouldn't come as a surprise. You and I both saw him earlier this week at practice, out there getting back in the swing of things, going up, tough matchup against Oklahoma State's defensive line. One of the unique things with the Oklahoma State's defensive line, oftentimes their defensive linemen don't have a hand in the ground. They're standing up when Boise State will snap the football. Makes it hard for the quarterback and O-line to ID the defense.
Hey, we know how good Stets is. Also, Boise State has a very talented player at left tackle. Moving along, John Ojukwu has 27 career starts under his belt, 13 more than any other offensive player on the Boise State football roster. You know what? He has been on the field for almost every single one of Hank Bachmeier's dropbacks this season, and he's only surrendered a single sack. Now, in terms of the ground game, yes, the Broncos have struggled, but I want you to look at this breakdown. Through 2 games, Boise State has had a ton of success running left behind their big left tackle, John Ojukwu, averaging 6.1 yards per carry. Look at center, look at right, run behind Big John. This week, offensive coordinator Tim Plow said he hopes OJ starts rubbing off on the rest of his teammates.
Bronco Roundup Game Day Power Players, sponsored by Sparklight, a stronger connection.
I think he's been one of our best players on offense. If you watch the film, you know, one of our most consistent, dominant guys on the offense has been OJ. And his work ethic from Sunday to Friday is unmatched as far as guys I've been around and coached. He has a real determination to be great. I think he is one of our best players on offense. And obviously when you're up front, you're not going to get as much praise as the skill guys scoring the touchdowns, but very important to what we do for sure. I'm leaning on him more just as a leader to try to create more of a consistency with our entire group. Like, hey, he's kind of showing the way. If you prepare for the game the way he does, you'll be as dominant as he is. And so I'm just proud of him and how he is bringing this group along. And I'm not going to be surprised when this thing starts going different in the run game because they're going to follow his lead and then we'll be doing a lot of good things.
Hey Bronco fans, show us your team spirit. Share a photo with us and you could win a big screen smart TV. To enter, text the word FAN to 208-321-5614. Game Day Traditions, sponsored by Mountain America Credit Union.
What does DJ Schramm bring to your team? He had a big hit on special teams earlier on, and I don't know if the UTEP ball carrier came out of the end zone the rest of the game. And then he obviously got a lot of run even at backer just due to the nature of the game. What does he bring to your team?
Shows up to work every day. If it's special teams, if it's kickoff to backer to whatever you need, DJ Schramm is down for it. And he's got a great beard, which is also a huge plus. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's a big struggle of mine. DJ is one of the smartest football players you'll be around and one of the most tough guys you'll be around. He's that guy that is to a T, low ego, high output. He's a great teammate. He's one of the best players on our team at prepping and understanding what it takes. And he's just everything you want in a Boise State football player. He's tough, he's disciplined, he needs no fluff. He's just going to show up to work every day. And you know what you're getting from DJ, regardless of what day it is and what time, he's going to be ready to go.
And with that, DJ Schramm will get to carry out the hammer. You know, it's been a little over 2 years since we lost former Boise State great Dan Paul. His passing happened sudden and way too soon in his life. His legacy continues to live on, though, with the Dan Paul hammer, one of the more meaningful traditions within the Boise State football program. During Dan's playing days, those that knew him said he perfectly embodied what it means to be a Bronco. That model has helped mold the career of senior long snapper Daniel Contrell, who did his best to honor the life and legacy of Dan Paul this offseason. The life of a long snapper involves so much, yet so little.
All special teams, we got the one rep mentality, go out and do it perfect.
A single mistake can wreck a game in an instance.
We've got a big challenge always of making sure that we're locked in mentally.
While a perfect performance will likely go completely unnoticed by the public eye.
It goes back to the blue collar mentality that we go out and give our best effort for the team.
Boise State senior long snapper Daniel Contrell is one of the best in the country at what he does. A fact that probably hasn't even really been brought to your attention. He doesn't snap for stats, but rather for a symbol.
Every snap I get, I try and get the hammer.
One that perfectly embodies his sacrifices and selflessness, along with his passion, talent, and work ethic.
It embodies blue collar spirit and just being able to sacrifice for the team, so that's what that means to me.
Born and raised right here in Boise, Contrell was a star linebacker at Bishop Kelly High School. Growing up, a single vision became the fabric of his football phenomenon.
The hammer meant a lot to me.
And the attitude of a specific player was hammered into his spirit.
I learned more about Dan Paul and his legacy. He was just a man for the team. Everybody could go to Dan Paul for his help with anything, and he would always leave it all on the field on special teams.
During the 2019 season, Contrell got the opportunity to lead the Broncos into battle with the Dan Paul hammer not once.
There's nothing like it, especially at home.
But twice.
And then even at away games, whenever you just get to hear everybody booing, and that's also thrilling. But a home game it's just a different level.
They were two unforgettable moments that highlight a career successfully lived in the shadows of the spotlight.
He is our special teams leader. He is in our leadership group. What he does, how he works, what he's contributed to this team, who he is, how consistent he is every day, the mentality he brings.
The tradition and honor have meant so much to him.
My dad has gotten into forging.
That this offseason, Daniel and his father decided to pay tribute to it.
And we decided we wanted to try and build the hammer since this is my senior year.
There's someone who can probably make a pretty sweet hammer to carry on the tradition. That's Danny and his dad.
For the first time ever, the Dan Paul hammer isn't a store-bought piece of hardware, but rather a handcrafted, perfectly pressed piece of pride that fits the mold of how and why this tradition was fashioned in the first place.
It's definitely something I'm super proud to be a part of. I think this fits right in with our ideals, and it's really brought us all together and connected me even more to the program.
Constructing the new hammer required sacrifices and selflessness, passion, talent, and a strong work ethic.
We were really working hard on it the last month before fall camp. So you have to heat up the hunk of steel, so that takes a while. And then making sure when you're using the press, you don't overpress it, you don't squeeze it too much. And then our neighbor was kind enough to engrave the Bronco head and then the lettering onto the handle for us.
And the final seal of approval came when Daniel revealed it to the team.
It was awesome. I feel like everybody was super excited to see it, and even before the game, everybody was wanting to go just look at it, get a closer look at the hammer, which was great.
It's a pretty nice piece of work, Jay, and it symbolizes too who he is as well.
Just days later,
we already knew he was going to carry out the hammer for the first game. He didn't know that.
Contrell led the Broncos onto the field against UCF. The weight not of the object, but rather its legacy more noticeable than ever.
Just knowing that I made something for this team that's made so much impact on my life, it's pretty awesome, I think.
The Dan Paul hammer. It's a tradition that has molded Daniel Contrell, and now he can say that he helped mold this tradition, a standard worth its weight in steel.
What really made me want to do it was just to leave Boise better than how I found it and give something to the team and the program that means a lot to me and means a lot to the program to hopefully instill the spirit of being a special teams player, just like Dan Paul, his legacy, keep that going throughout all the next generations of Broncos.
I tell you, Daniel Contrell, toughness personified. We've known him all the way back to his playing days at Bishop Kelly. Always a great teammate.
Tell you what, it makes me feel old watching that because you and I covered him at BK when he was a linebacker for the Knights making tackles left and right.
All right, more to come on the Bronco Roundup Game Day Show, but first, tonight's Scott Slant.
Home of the Boise State. So tonight we look at Boise State against the Power 5 in recent times, as in the past decade. And it's kind of interesting. Since the Broncos bopped Georgia 35-21 in the Chick-fil-A kickoff 10 years ago, the record's been about 500, 10-9. And 2-1 at home. And notice that this is only the fourth time a Power 5 team has been on the blue turf in all that time. Otherwise, even Steven, 4-4 on the road and at neutral sites. Average score, the other guy's 28, the Broncos 24. Even though it seems like there have been some struggles of late, Boise State is 2-2 in its past 4 games against the Power 5. The wins coming at Florida State and against Oregon in the Las Vegas Bowl. It's time for trivia presented by Western Siding, the Treasure Valley's exterior remodeling experts. I mentioned Boise State's 2-1 record against the Power 5 over the past 10 years. Those victories came over which 2 Pac-12 schools? Think about it, and I'll have the answer when we come back on Bronco Roundup Game Day. Welcome back to Bronco Roundup Game Day, and here I have your answer to Western Siding trivia. Boise State's 2 wins against the Power 5 the past decade at home were both memorable ones. The Broncos defeated Washington 16-13 in Chris Peterson's return to the blue turf in 2015, and Washington State 31-28 in 2016. Remember Tyler Horton's 85-yard pick six? The one loss was 42-23 to Virginia in 2017, but the Broncos would rebound from that to win the Mountain West and the Vegas Bowl. Texas, number 3, Brandon Hawkins.
Welcome back live to the Blue. One of the benefits of being back inside Albertson Stadium, we get to chat football with our good friend Shane Williams-Rhodes on the Game Day Show. Only 232 career catches, second most in the history of Boise State. What do you think of the crowd and just the atmosphere being back in Albertson Stadium, Shane?
I like seeing all this blue out here. This is actually weird game for me. This will be the first game I'm actually going to go in the stands and, being part of Bronco Nation and be a part of the environment here tonight.
Shane, what's your favorite memory of a non-conference home game during your playing career?
It definitely would have to be 2012 BYU 6-7 game. That's the loudest I've ever heard it here at Bronco Stadium. It was a crazy environment. I actually felt like the ground was shaking.
Canadian bacon.
Yeah, I love the fact that Shane, an offensive player, says his favorite experience here was a 7-6 defensive battle, and the only touchdown room like after that.
Offense took it on the chin most of the game. It was real rough, and they scored on offense, but we weren't able to. But man, I think that year our defense was just so elite that we were able to still get the win out. But yeah, we definitely got lit up the next day in meetings.
Shane, you and I spent some time talking about this a little bit earlier this week. There is nobody better to ask about how talented wide receivers are here at Boise State than yourself. What have you seen out of Khalil Shakir so far, and where does he rank in Boise State pass-catching lore at this moment?
At this moment, I am not going to quite put him in the top 5 conversation just because he hasn't finished the season. If he finishes the season as consistent or even close to what he's been doing, we're going to be having a top 2 conversation here at the end of the season.
Shane, we recently learned Stephon Cobb's not going to be able to go tonight. Who are you looking for? A former wide receiver. Who are you looking for to step up tonight on the Blue?
I think it doesn't need to be just one guy trying to step in for Cobbs. I think it needs to be the receiver group as a whole. So you need guys who we haven't seen to step in. Because I don't think they'll just disperse his catches just to one guy. I think they'll kind of spread it out. We'll see 6 get some. We'll see 1 get some. I want to see some of these younger guys kind of step into that role. See who else we have out there we haven't seen yet.
I got to say, Davis Cutter has actually logged quite a few snaps this season, still searching for that first catch as a member of the Broncos. He could be a candidate to maybe see some increased playing time and maybe get that first catch. Also, Billy Bowens continues to carve out some nice playing time as well. What have you been most impressed with about this Boise State football team through 2 games, and then what's your biggest concern?
I've been most impressed with the receivers' ability to create separation. I think just every year it just seems to get better and better. I know when I left, we started seeing more guys touch the ball, and it seemed like everyone is touching the ball now, and I love that. So I think that's what stuck out the most. The thing I probably hate the most is we aren't able to really stop anybody yet, a worthy opponent. So I want to see if we can go out tonight, stop a worthy opponent, so we can put our defense on the map, because we got a really tough next 4 games.
Shane, time now for our keys to the game. We'll bring you in and join us for this segment. What's your key to the game for tonight?
I got 2 keys to the game, so it goes on both sides of the ball. I think we have to establish a run. I think if you can create dominance in the run game, it's hard to stop a team. And then on the other end, we got to be able to stop the run. Just like I said, for the same reasons of why that's the key to the game on the offensive end. So establish a run and stop the run, and we bring this home.
Honestly, my key to the game, I'm going to go right back to Khalil Shakir. Just kind of continue to be crazy, Khalil. He's been outstanding so far. 166 receiving yards last week, the most in a home win by a Boise State receiver since 2002. I was in high school when that happened, Will.
So you're saying Khalil Shakir, keep it rolling? I'm saying Boise State's defense, keep it rolling with the turnovers. Entering tonight with 8 turnovers, second best in the entire country. 5 interceptions, 3 fumble recoveries. Couple TOs tonight would go a long way in picking up a big home win.
It's been awesome to see the variety of guys that have taken part in this turnover battle. Shea Oladipo, a true freshman, 2 picks last week. We'll see if he can make an impact tonight. Our final key to the game, protect. Only 1 sack so far this season. A lot of that because he's getting rid of the football. Got to protect him against this Oklahoma State front.
Keep Hank upright. Oklahoma State entering tonight with 7 sacks, 6th best in the entire country. Present a very confusing defensive front. It'll be a big challenge for Boise State's offensive line and Hank to ID who's who on this Oklahoma State defense.
Really quick, do we have to give a shout out to Sloan, your daughter, for letting you join us?
Always. Andrea, shout out Sloan. Thank you.
Shane, one of the best people out there, an incredible wide receiver. We wrap up the Bronco Roundup Game Day Show live from Albertson Stadium after the break. We will let the Keith Stein Blue Thunder Marching Band wrap up this show. We appreciate you watching, everybody. Highlights tomorrow on Sunday Sports Extra. Enjoy this epic battle that is about to take place on the Blue. And again, thanks for watching, everybody.